Welcome back to the building the what are we? Building the pride. There it is.
Really? For
Building
the
the
day, right?
pride. I'm your exhausted host, Drew, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Mike. Mike, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Drew. How about yourself?
Well, I'm a little tired.
Yeah.
Paying constant attention to Twitter can be exhausting.
Yeah.
Since we're in the middle of NFL free agency, but
In the middle. We're just getting started.
I mean, what really happens? I mean, I think day one is for everybody, and then if you're still involved, day two and afterwards, you're just a straight up nerd. So like,
Sign me up.
yeah. So I'm down that rabbit hole. So and
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about it tonight.
Yeah. I think the entire episode today is going to be news and notes around the NFL, right? It's
Yeah,
just free agent frenzy.
there's a
So I
lot of
guess
it.
where do we want to start? Do we want to just go? We can go team by team on like a tracker basis. We could talk about surprising moves, like the really big ones, like, hey, Myles Garrett said that he didn't want to ever come back to Cleveland. He wanted to go to a winner, didn't rebuild. And then they said, but what if we throw a little bit more money at you? He said, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Right? Like, there were a couple of those. Max Crosby, I don't want to be in LA anymore or Las Vegas anymore. How about if we throw a little bit more money at you? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah, I'll stay. Like, we had a
Yeah,
couple of those situations, right?
I think we should talk about all of them here. But here, before we get started, I want to say something about free agency and I want your opinion on this as well.
Right on.
Of all the different ways there are to build a roster, this is probably the second worst way to go about doing it. And what I mean when I say that is the best way to build a roster, and like the NFL has proven this time and time again, especially under this CBA,
Mm-hmm.
is you have to draft well.
Right.
So the New Orleans Saints in 2017 had an amazing draft. Like the Philadelphia Eagles have, like in my opinion, have won a Super Bowl based upon how well they have drafted over a long time frame. The Kansas City Chiefs, find Patrick Mahomes, maybe probably gonna go down in history as one of the better quarterbacks in NFL history. That's how you establish a franchise. That's how you go from NFL mediocrity or just the doldrums to a playoff contending team like the Lions have done.
Yep.
The only way worse to build a franchise is to trade for players.
Well, so
Why do
there's
I?
three ways,
Yeah,
right?
so there's
There are
three
three
ways.
ways to build a team.
Best way, draft, and it's a huge tier.
Yeah.
The second way is to do what we're doing right now, which is to acquire players in free agency. And that's the second best way because you're only spending one resource, and that's cap space. Third, you have to trade for people, and then usually you then give them more money. So you're out picks plus cap space. But
Not just picks, potentially players too. You're basically
sure,
out other assets, right?
yeah, you're out cap space plus some additional resource, right?
Yeah.
So the Lions have not participated much in free agency under the Holmes Campbell regime, right?
Right.
Not that they haven't done it, but they have usually limited themselves to deals like what is normally called prove it contracts. Someone's hurt and they've come back. Someone's been cut. There's no longer any faith in that player. Hey, I can still play in the NFL. Give me a chance. Okay, I'll sign for less money in order to have an opportunity to regain some
Right.
amount of my career. So, and we have seen that those deals happen and to be honest, I've forgotten about how many of them are, but like most recently, Emmanuel Mosley, Marcus Davenport, those are prove it contracts.
Yeah. Previous to that, Anzalone, and he did prove it and got
Yeah,
extended, right?
he got extended. So, hey
What's
man,
up, Hatters?
Lions OW Kenobi. That would be dope because that guy's got some real talent.
So you said you wanted my opinion on.
Yeah, go right ahead, man.
So no, like what do you want to ask me?
Well, I mean, like, what
What
is your? I suppose my thing is like, what is your take? So, like, let's set it up like this. For the first time that I can remember, the Lions made a day one signing in free agency under this regime. They signed cornerback DJ Reed from the Jets, 3 years, $48 million, $16 million per. I don't know what the guaranteed is off the top of my head. But, I mean, free agency started at noon, and by 1 o'clock, they had him signed. So this was as close to, we have a need, that's a player that we want that does the thing that we want. We're willing to give him cap space in order to acquire this player.
Right.
So a lot of Lions fans have expressed a desire to see more of this, more of a splash, right? As opposed to the maybe slightly more boring, requiring more patience method of draft and develop, right? Let's go get guys that can play right now.
Yep.
They've done that, albeit with just one player.
Yep.
So what is your take? Do you want to see the Lions put forth more effort to acquire players in free agency? Do you like what they have been doing? Do you see it as sustainable? Do they need to pivot at some point? Like, how do you see this time of year for the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, great question. So I think, we talked about there's 3 different ways to build a team, 3 different methods, different avenues: drafting, free agency, where you're just signing new players, and then trading, right? And I think as you're building a team, and we talked about this in the past, you don't typically only do one thing, right? We don't only draft. We're still signing people in free agency. We're still making trades, but that's not the main avenue. That's not the thing that we're doing most, right? So we're mostly building through the draft, but supplementing that strategy with very tactical free agent signings and very tactical trades. I think that we're doing fine with this particular strategy. I think that we have done. Brad has shown that my microphone just fell over. Sorry about that. Brad has shown that he can evaluate talent and make very good draft day decisions. So I love the fact that we're still doing that as our primary method or strategy to build the team. That said, I do think that we don't want to completely ignore the other 2 strategies, especially, and like you said, free agency is the better of the other 2 strategies, right? Because all you have to do is deal with cap space. You're not giving up any other assets. No trade picks, no players. It's just cap. I do wish we would do a little bit more in that space. Playoff windows, Super Bowl windows are a real thing. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make that window as big as possible. But at some point, and you don't know it until it happens, but that window starts to contract. And a lot of times you don't know it until it's almost closed. And what I don't want to do is go, let's build through the draft and only go the young route without getting to that point where, like, we are almost there. We're gonna get the Super Bowl. And I think the Rams did a really good job of figuring out when they needed to pivot very tactically to a free agent. Like, hey man, our baseline of players is so high. We've got we got 7 picks, and we're probably not going to get more than 3 of them that can make the team. So let's use those picks to get people we know will make the team. So, and they did it very tactically. I think that we could do that a little bit more. I think that, now granted, Myles Garrett didn't end up going anywhere, just like you predicted. Actually, we both kind of talked about, we'll believe it when we see it, Myles Garrett didn't go anywhere. Max Crosby didn't go anywhere. Those would have been things that I would tactically go for. But I don't think either of those guys were on the table. So I don't think we had a choice on that one. So I think we're doing fine. I think going through the draft is primarily how you keep that window staying open as long as possible without slamming shut. And if you do well at the draft, that window, when it does kind of close a little bit, it does, you can see it coming, or you can, reduce the effect of that window closing. So I'd love to see a little bit more splash. There's some really, really decent free agents. I love the great ones are gone, right?
Well, I don't know. So I don't know about that. So like, I think that what you could easily say is that the people who perceive the quote unquote best overall talent has been signed.
Yeah.
In free agency. I still think that the people who fit the Detroit Lions the best are still on the board.
Yeah. So I was looking at NFL.com's top 101 free agents, and the vast majority of them are gone. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people that are perfect for us. Like, so one of the guys I wanted to ask you about is we need a true wide receiver 3.
Sure.
Is Amari Cooper, does he fit that bill? I mean, is this somebody that we should go after, very like tactically go, all right, this is where I'm going to spend my cap money, because Amari Cooper can do something for us the next 2 years that a third-round draft choice just probably isn't going to. Thoughts on, he was the one that most intrigued me, and he was at the top of their best available, which is probably not a coincidence.
I certainly see. I think that Amari Cooper's kind of had a rough go of it in his career. Like, he starts with the Raiders and he gets straight into the Cowboys. The Cowboys have to salary dump him to the Browns. Ugh. And then he finally makes it to the Bills. Now, here's what I think's weird. I think it's weird that he's unsigned. 2 days into free agency. What is that about? Okay, so there's two guys. First of all, I think that I would just prefer Tim Patrick to be back on the team. Lions made a signing.
Oh, he was asking about the Kenobi.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, Michael, Kenobi has the Force, so he's got a leg up on most people. So I like Amari Cooper.
A leg up as in he's got the high ground?
Yeah, he's got.
Sorry.
The high ground
you can't go wrong.
Is a super advantage. Yeah. Helps you turn guys into quadriplegics, apparently. So, but I like Amari Cooper. I just don't think that he does what the Lions are looking for. So, I think the nice thing about Tim Patrick is he's got the size, experience, and what the Lions want him to do by playing on the team last year. He'll be cheaper. And not that I've ever seen Amari Cooper be like, I need the ball. I've never heard him say that. Of course, I don't pay much attention to Amari Cooper, but I've never heard him be like, hey, you got to feed me. I'm the guy getting the ball in the end zone. I've never heard him say anything like that. But Tim Patrick understands the role and is accepting of it.
Yeah.
So,
but is he a step up from Tim Patrick? Tim Patrick
talent for sure.
WR4.
I guess so. I've had this kind of conversation with a lot of Lions fans recently.
Yeah.
And it's like, most of the time I have this conversation when somebody is like, oh, we're going to give you a 6'2", 240-pound edge rusher in the draft to play opposite Aiden Hutchinson. And I was like, do you have any comprehension of what the Lions want to do at all? It's because it's not that guy. And so like Amari Cooper is certainly, I think, a better wide receiver than Tim Patrick. But does he do the things the Lions want? Because I think the Lions want to feed the ball to St. Brown, Laporta, Jameson Williams, have Gibbs catch it out of the backfield. And Tim Patrick certainly has his moments where he can be a go-to guy. He'll run a hitch. He's got a big body guy. He'll box out. Like you could even
3-4 targets a game, 1 or 2 catches, and
he's cool with it.
Yeah.
And like I guess my thing is I just don't know how Amari Cooper would fit with Goff. I think they would probably work it out and it would end up being fine.
It'd only take
But
2 years.
right.
Sorry, had to.
What was that guy's name? He came
Which
from
guy?
the guy that he was on the team 2 years ago, and he had all the like experience with Goff.
Oh, Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, he's a free
Yeah.
agent.
Yep. Yeah, he was a free agent when we got him. He was on his
Yeah.
couch like week 7,
Yeah. So
and he had a good year and a half with us.
yeah, he did, and he got him a deal in free agency.
Yep.
So good. That's good for him. So like, I do think that if you were the Detroit Lions and you were saying we just have to upgrade the talent quotient on the team,
Right.
yeah, you should go with Amari Cooper over Tim Patrick. However, I do think the Lions are way more invested in. Yeah, they want the right piece. Like they want the chess piece that's gonna like get them so that they have like the right matchup, or we want to run our offense the way that we want to run it. And like, could Amari Cooper do those things? Probably. But like, I've always thought of Amari Cooper as the kind of wide receiver that you want running down the sideline, between the hash and the boundary. And like, he's going to go get it. Like I've seen him like go up and get the ball, contested catch, down the field kind of wide receiver. Like, I always thought that he'd be a really good wide receiver to pair with like a Russell Wilson or even like a Joe Burrow.
Right.
Because like that's where
Joe doesn't need any more threats. Screw Joe Burrow.
So that's another thing I want to talk about today is like, what the hell are some of these teams doing? Because Cincinnati's one of them, and I don't get it.
Yeah.
So, but like,
we want to talk about what happened, and then we could talk about like who's available after, or
whatever you want to do.
Available isn't the action, right? The action are the signings.
How about this? Let's let me give you just a couple players in the NFL right now that I think we should sign, that I think would go pretty well with what the team wants to do, in my limited understanding of it. Number 1, Kyle Juszczyk from
the Niners.
From the Niners. I think that if the Lions in the past have had a love affair with that kind of player, and over the last couple of years have phased that guy out. But they have never had a guy at Juszczyk's level. He would probably be cheap. You don't have to run him that many plays. He might even be a special teamer for you. But like, I think that if you want to get like the little percentages on the margins for what he could do for you, I think that would be a very interesting player to have as like an RB4. Like,
well, can you imagine him leading the way for a guy like Montgomery, who's already a power runner? And if you can just give Montgomery another step and a half of momentum behind Juszczyk, and then like sneak out around him as he hits somebody, I mean, that's not a bad deal.
Yeah, so I think that
for a fullback.
Yeah, he's excellent out of the backfield. Like, you could run. I think that he would be a very interesting piece in our offense. So I'm not going to cry if they don't sign him, but like, I think that he would be interesting. Defensive tackle Calais Campbell is on the market. I think that would be an awesome signing as like a. So Michael Lucci's asked he just did the same thing. He just asked the same question. So from what I understand, Michael, when Morton and Campbell worked together like 2 years ago, or it was 2022, so 3 years ago, he was instrumental in helping like Ben design the offense and work with Goff to like learn it. So whether it's the OC or the new DC and Kelvin Shepherd, I have yet to see anything that makes me believe that they're going to change anything about what they want to do. So they re-signed Derek Barnes. Okay. Kelvin Shepherd is going to have the same linebacker room that they had last year, right? So, I mean, they sign a small but like feisty corner. Like, everything I've heard about DJ Reed is the exact same thing that I heard about Amik Robertson, except DJ Reed is better. So like
He
I
had a
think that
70.6 grade, I think, overall last year.
yeah.
Not
So
bad.
like I think that they are just going out and acquiring players that are going to help them do what they, and if there is going to be an evolution like on the offensive or defensive front, it's probably year 2 of these guys
Yeah.
after they've settled down, like let's get our bearings and have 1 year of like experience under us as a group. So Kyle Juszczyk, Calais Campbell is somebody that I would be very interested in signing as like a snap eater until Lee McNeil and Mekhi Wingo get back.
So, question for you. As I'm scrolling through this, again, the top 100 or whatever from NFL.com, I'm looking 27, 32, 27, 31. Calais Campbell's almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
And as you keep scrolling, Azeez Ojulari, 25. Not very many youngsters. And Ojulari, he's never been, I mean, he's not Hutchinson, right? But like,
Right.
is he better than Davenport? Like, is this a guy that you would maybe want to take a flyer on?
Click on him and I'll show you the reason why I don't think that they will. He's 240 pounds. So you don't play him where Davenport plays in their defense. You play him behind Aiden Hutchinson. And Aiden Hutchinson,
backup.
Right. So like he would have a sub package where he would be on the field with Aiden. And it's like, we're going to, okay, light a fire under you, pin your ears back, get to the quarterback as fast as you can. That's what this guy does well. But like, I think the Detroit Lions want to start, 29, 33, however old Marcus Davenport is. They want to start that guy or a guy that is the same height, weight, speed, who does the things that he does, which is to create a wall and like set the edge. And like the littler guys don't do that nearly as well because they're not as big, as strong, and have long arms. So
what about Bosa? I didn't realize he was 280, by the way.
He's a big dude.
An enormous dude.
So I do think Joey Bosa is closer to the type of player they would want across from Aiden Hutchinson. So here's the thing. Joey Bosa has played about a third of the season each of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's also the kind of player that the Lions, I think, would be interested in signing. A veteran present who fits what they want to do, who's probably going to come in cheap because he has had injury problems.
Right?
Yeah. And like the only reason I don't want Joey Bosa on my team is that he played for Ohio State. That's the only reason. And that's not a good enough reason. That's just not a good enough reason to not have him on the team.
Right.
So I would think that he's much closer than like Azeez Ojulari is to being signed by the Detroit Lions. So didn't the Bosa's unite today with the 49ers? He might have been. I've heard that he wants to play with his brother, Nick. So,
but possibly it does say that as the article is going to be updated as a signed. So because they haven't moved him to the bottom of the list where they're already signed, I'm guessing not. But
yeah,
I can't say for sure.
So I mean, for me, Kyle Juszczyk, Calais Campbell, and then if you can sign a back 7 player, another back 7 player, like a backup safety, I would be very interested in that because there's literally nobody behind Branch and Joseph right now because Ife Melifonwu is off to the Dolphins. Congratulations, Ife. So
yeah, pretty inexpensively too.
Yeah, let's talk. I mean, that's a talking point because the Lions were not willing to give $4 million for 1 year to Ife Melifonwu to play safety 3. So you are either coming in dirt cheap, I mean, like bare minimum contract levels, or you're drafting a guy.
Yeah,
because that's how much they cost, is less than $4 million. So. I mean, I don't have a great take on everything that Detroit wants to do, but like these are the nuggets that you got to kind of piece together and be like, no, we're not gonna. I was a little surprised that Jevon Holland, who was the Dolphins' prize safety, who was right there at the top of like overall players heading into free agency, only got $15 a year from the Giants. Like I saw some contract projections that said that he might get upwards of 2021.
Oh, wow.
Vaki played safety at Utah, and then the Lions converted him to a running back. So
Oh, he played running back there too. He played both.
But he's not going to split snaps at both position in Detroit. He's a running back only. So
yeah.
So the Lions so far have signed DJ Reed. I'm pro the signing. They've re-signed Derek Barnes. They have re-signed Marcus Davenport. They have re-signed Dan Skipper. And
yeah, that hasn't been updated. That just happened this afternoon, I believe.
Yeah. So, and then they have signed re-signed some depth players like Netani Muti, and there's one other. Miles Adams, the defensive tackle from the Seahawks that we picked up last year. They have been retained. Ezekiel Turner as well. So the Lions have cut or released Jalen Reeves-Maybin and Zadarius Smith.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure Ezekiel Turner is the new JRM, and we could be looking for a backup to Aiden Hutchinson, which is what Smith would have been if he'd been on the roster this year. But he's not going to be. So the Lions have a bunch of cap space. And, I am assuming, so even if they win, what is it? Tomorrow is Wednesday, and that's the new league year, right? So
I believe so, yes.
So then new league year hits, and they're going to be able to extend players. And the guys that they're able to extend, whose windows are open, because they'll start their fourth year, are Kirby Joseph, Aiden Hutchinson, and Jameson Williams. So, I guess
expect all of those, right?
Yeah. So I think Aiden Hutchinson's going to get somewhere between 36 and 40. And I don't know. If the safety market is $15 million for a second contract, mid 20-year-old, top of the market safety in Jevon Holland, who gets $15 million, you can give Kirby 16 right now, and I'm not going to blink an eye. That's a fucking steal. Yeah. So, and then I don't know what price JMO will fetch. Probably not as much as he might be the 20th highest paid wide receiver.
He'll be between 20 and 24 probably.
Yeah. And you just do that. You just do that with all of those guys. But if you extend any of them, it doesn't affect this year's cap. So the Lions are sitting here right now with somewhere between 52 and $56 million, and they can roll into next season 50 plus million. That's fine. They don't care. But for a couple of reasons, I know they're going to want that money to play around with during the season for whatever reason. Practice squad extensions, signing guys because of injuries, possible trades. Who knows?
Yeah. Your rookie class.
You got to sign your rookie class. That's obviously, that teams have to have that money. So, and then if they don't use it, they'll roll it over. So they had something like 23 million rollover this last year. I thought there was a limit on what you could roll over. There's not. You can roll over every dollar that you don't use. So they might be in a position here where they're basically going to say, we rolled into last season with 30 plus. We're rolling into this season with 50 plus. We've extended our players. We have guys. We can field the team. Let's head into the draft. Max flexibility. Get the guys that we like. We'll move up and down. We don't have to get 7 guys, to your point, because we're drafting for depth at this point on this roster. So they might just be looking at their cap and being how can we add 10, 15, 20, 25 million a year to roll over into our cap? So then cap goes up more than we expect, might go up more than we expect next year. Now we've got 20 plus sitting on the books again. So you add your $20 million increase, your $55 million that you're rolling into, you're rolling over or whatever. And now you're all right, so you're telling me that you're extending all these guys and you have flexibility heading into the draft, and you're building depth, and you're still building out your cap space. If that very well could be the plan. That could be the plan. So
Well, let's talk. There were some big moves.
Yeah,
To me, there were, and we talked real shortly about it. Um, Miles Garrett, Max
yeah,
Crosby, both said, "I want out." Well,
yeah.
Garrett did. Crosby kind of hinted at it, and uh, both of the, or at least Garrett's like, "I'm just not like I'm not even negotiating. I'm not going to play. You just need to trade me. I want to go to a winner."
Hmm.
And then a few $1 million and a no trade clause. Like,
A few $1 million.
but my point is like, was this all a ploy, or did he really want out until that number got to the point where it's like, okay, I really want out, but man, that's a big number.
I think it's both, to be honest. Like, I think that he wanted to do what he could to force his way out of there because he's a great player. There's no doubt that he is a great player. He is probably and most likely a Hall of Famer,
Yep.
and he is never going to win in Cleveland because they're awful. And like history
And he
just
just resigned
dictates,
himself to that
right?
yesterday.
So like if you can't win, you should get paid. And so they came up with a number that I think basically says we're
I'll take
probably not
160
we're not
million
going to win
dollars to not
anytime
win a Super
soon,
Bowl.
Miles. Like, are you on board? You know? And he's probably like, yeah, for since you're doubling my salary, I'm on board. You
Yeah.
know.
I was
So
really kind of surprised by the no trade clause.
so to me that says he was like, you got to put that in there.
Yeah, which is weird because he was the one that said absolutely trade me.
Well,
So
not because I don't think that he wants to not be traded. I think that he wants to be able to dictate where he goes in the
yeah,
eventuality that he does get traded or comes back with a new trade demand, which we might see in a couple years. We don't know.
yeah,
But
yeah. I think they typically will do a limited trade where they're allowed. Uh, the player can put 10 names down on a piece of paper for destinations, and that's the only list kind of thing. But maybe the no trade is a little bit tighter than that, where they have to approve everything through him,
oh yeah,
as
like
opposed
he can
to
basically
give me
say
a
no,
list, right?
I'm not going to be traded to the Titans or whatever,
Yeah,
you know, like
or Carolina, or
right. Like you have to
and there's
find
so many teams that you
someone
could put on that list. The Jets.
right. So I mean like he's if he ever is traded, which looks
Yeah,
less likely, then he gets to
yeah.
pick where he goes. So that's I think that's what this was about. But smart for him, he got paid. So
Yep.
congratulations, Miles.
Other big deals. Scroll way up to the top because they're Josh Allen, 6 years, $330 million, 250 million guaranteed.
He's not even the
So
highest paid quarterback in the league. Like he's tied for
he
it, I
took
think.
a team-friendly deal.
Yeah.
This is the way I see it. 55 million bucks a year. Dak is getting 60. To me, if you're taking $5 million a year less than Dak, that is considered team friendly. Because he is so much better than Dak. He like comparatively, he could be paid 70, and that seems about right in comparison to what Dak's getting. Right.
Well,
So
so the running joke in the NFL is that if anybody like Josh Allen ever made it to the open market,
yeah,
that we would all be shocked what people would pay to get. I mean, it
yeah.
might be 100 million. In all honesty, it could be 100. I mean, it's crazy to think about, but like if there was ever a bidding war for somebody like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes on the open market, like 60 is a joke. 60 would be a joke.
So
And like
why, especially if there's a quarterback that maybe wants out, like maybe Joe Burrow gets to the point where he's like, you know what, I'm done in Cincinnati.
mhm,
Um, I guess why don't we see that more often?
because they're still getting paid because they can't because the guys can't force their way to the open market.
Yeah,
They can force themselves to a specific team. They can't force themselves to the bidding war. So
yeah,
like, and here's the reason why. It's exactly what's happening with T. Higgins right now. T. Higgins played out his rookie deal. He was like the first pick in the second round the year that he was drafted. He became a great player. He's probably a number one on half the teams in the NFL. And he could, if he hit the open market, there's no doubt in my mind that he's 30 plus, probably closer to 35, and like sitting right there at the top of his position group. Instead, what did the Bengals do? They have now franchise tagged him twice. So you have to play out your rookie deal and then 2 tags in order to if you're just like, nope, I want to get to the market. So if you tag me, great, I'll take all the guaranteed money. I'll Kirk Cousins my way through this thing, and then like, you'll hit me twice or whatever. But I'm telling you right now, I'm getting to the open market, and so like it'll be going into year 7 for whoever this player is. But like 1 rookie contract and 2 tags later, okay, now I can go to a bidding war. So why don't we see that? Because these people have families, they have people don't like to uproot their lives. Like you have built something here, like you have relationships with coaches and other players, like there's a lot more stuff. And then that team comes to you and says, oh, we'll give you $150 million, like vis-a-vis DK Metcalf just got. Yeah. Oh, okay. Like that cures a lot of my ills. Like, well, we're good. Like this, I'm willing to put this. I don't want the bidding war now. This is fine.
Yeah.
It's different when it's sitting right in front of you.
Yeah. Or when you don't have a choice.
Right. But I don't understand what Cincinnati's doing. So we are 2 days into the free agent market.
Right.
And like every time that a free agent gets signed or a trade happens or something else, like if we're going to get to the new league year here, and then all of a sudden, what happens if Aiden Hutchinson signs his contract extension before Trey Hendricks gets re-signed by Cincinnati?
Yeah.
And then it's just $2 million, $3 million, $5 million more a year for Trey Hendrickson. Are you really going to give, what is he, 31? Are you really going to give a 31-year-old a 4-year, $34 million deal?
They'll have to.
Right. They have to. So like,
yeah, every day that goes by, they should be making that done, right? Getting that to the finish line.
So what we want to see as Lions fans is we want to see the opposite of that. So when the new league year starts, we want to see our guys who are up for extensions get those extensions as fast as possible. Because even though they're not playing on them in this upcoming season, like their average yearly rate is going to be so much less in comparison to other people in their position groups. Like Micah Parsons is sitting out here right now being like, thank you, Miles. Thank you, Max. Aiden, you want to help me out?
Yeah. Help a brother out.
he might get $41 or $42 million a year from the Cowboys. It's insane to think about, and it's all because he went last. So like teams like Cincinnati and Dallas who think that they have leverage and who want to play games with agents and all that kind of crap, like you're just hurting yourselves because you're essentially imposing a tax on yourself every year that you sign that guy, because he's going to be like, you're telling me I'm not as good as Trey Hendricks?
It's the slow movers tax.
Right. It's the slow movers tax. So like one thing that Brad doesn't get a lot of credit for is that he is not a slow mover. Like I think people get the idea like, oh, he's not signing people on day 1 or day 2 of free agency. Like he's a slow mover. No, dude. Like he understands where it's important to be fast and it's important to be slow.
Remember when we did that with Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Yeah.
And then we did that with Sewell?
Yeah.
Almost back to back. And everybody went,
it was in the same week.
Yeah, it was the same week. It was draft week, wasn't it?
It was, I think it was the first week in April.
Yeah, so it's like the week before the draft or something crazy. And
so
I think Brad's been ahead of the curve on that whole re-signing, getting in front of instead of behind the, at the end of the line. The only exception, I think, is Goff. I think he waited an extra year on Goff, and I'm not sure if it's because his first year and a half was a little bumpy, and he wanted to see, like, can we do this one more year? And when he did, he jumped on it, but, like, he could have done it a year earlier and probably saved $5 million a year. He was a little slow on Goff, but outside of that, man, he's been on top of all these. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hear, Hutch has a new deal in, like, 3 days.
Oh, no. Like, First of all, I cannot imagine that like they have not been in touch with his agent since like year 2.
Yeah.
To be like, so do we have like this idea in place or whatever, and we just have to figure out like what numbers at the moment the market's dictating, and we'll just do that.
Yeah.
Like because there's no
They've been
way.
talking this week even.
I think that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Because Hendricks and Parsons are sitting out there waiting for new deals.
Yeah.
Like you've already seen Crosby and Garrett get paid and push the ceiling on this position group hire. Why wait at all to see if Micah Parsons is going to come in at $41 million?
$40 million a year. Remember how we were talking about Hutch was going to be set the edge market, and we were thinking between 36 and 40? It's not that anymore.
I don't think he'll get paid as much as Garrett.
You don't think so?
No. I think that he'll come in between Crosby and Garrett.
I don't know.
That's fine.
I
could be wrong.
I mean, yeah, I hope you're right, because that means we have more money to play with.
Sure.
But I would be a little surprised if he doesn't at least match it.
Yeah, I think that he'll be
just from an age perspective, right? Like
I'm gonna say
where he is, but 8 years younger.
I'm gonna say that he'll get $38 million a year for 4 years. That's what I'll say. So $152 million over 4 years.
I mean, nothing to sneeze at.
Right. So listen, one last thing on the Myles Garrett and Max Crosby situations. I'm not the kind of guy to say, I told you so. And Mike, I really want to make this clear. When I'm saying I told you so, I'm not speaking to you. We're friends. You know that I would never be like, I told you so.
You wouldn't be like, what?
I told you so.
Oh, okay.
But like,
yeah, that would never come out of your mouth.
No. Not between you and me as friends. But like, I'm just saying, like, for the situation, like I predicted that neither one of them would force their way to Detroit. So in a sense, in a generic sense, I told you so, like, because of the way that the NFL works. Just remember, so like, once again, definitely want to point out, I am not speaking directly to you about points that you've made. I am not saying this to you. I am not saying I told you so. That's to other people in the Lions fandom ether who were really up in my ass about this.
Yes.
I told you so. So like, the next time that this shit happens, can we just remember the history of it?
If you were talking to me about that, I would say, in my defense, I didn't think that was going to happen, but I wanted it to.
Sure.
Right. And I think we both were kind of on the same page. Like, oh yeah, that'd be great. It would be great to have a guy like him there, but it's not going to happen. Not only is it not Brad's MO, Cleveland's not going to let it happen.
Correct. So like
I was pushing for it, and I was like, I think we should do it. I would do this. I'd give up these, picks. But I always said, but it's probably not going to happen.
It's probably not going to happen. So
we told you so, right?
Yeah, we told you. That's right. We told the show told you so.
Yes. Yep.
That's right.
That's why you come here, is for that kind of insight and future prognostication.
Mike, we still have not addressed what I consider to be the biggest move of day one of free agency yet. Do you have any idea?
Kenny Pickett being traded to the Browns to complement the Myles Garrett signing. It's
Kenny
the opposite side, right?
That's nickname
you got
in football.
Garrett, and then you got Pickett. Okay, so what was the other one?
So to me, the biggest individual move on day one of free agency was the Washington Commanders trading for Laramie Tunstall from the Houston Texans. That trade is straight theft. That is straight theft. Laramie Tunstall came in at the 19th overall rated tackle last year per PFF. But he was like the third best pass protecting tackle in the NFL. He had an elite grade in pass pro. 89.1 if I'm remembering correctly. So this is the kind of thing that you can do with a quarterback on a rookie contract that you've hit on. He has 2 years left on his deal. Now, Laramie Tunstall, if there's one thing Laramie Tunstall loves doing, it's getting to the open market. That dude is straight up addicted to getting to the open market. He practically invented the shorter contract stuff. So
why am I not seeing him here?
Because he's a tackle. And I can't read the page. So
defensive line?
He's a tackle.
Other D?
An offensive tackle.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm on. It's been a really long week already. It's only Tuesday. That's my excuse.
No.
Not passing. We want offense. Good Lord.
This is why you guys tune in. It's for the competency.
Yep. So we're gonna clear that and just go with the tackles.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yep. So overall, he was like I thought he was like the 19th guy.
Yep, 19th guy overall.
But his pass blocking is straight up fucking elite. Like, it is awesome. And now this dude is protecting Jaden Daniels. And because Jaden Daniels is on his rookie deal, they are going to be able to extend him probably this year and add 2 or 3 more years onto his current deal. I would want to extend him as soon as I possibly could, so that no more tackles drive up the market. But like, now you're going to have an elite left tackle protecting what looks like an elite quarterback, and you only have to pay one of them.
Yeah.
And now the timelines are going to match up. Like, and let's talk about what they gave up. First of all, Houston, their offensive line was absolute garbage. They had 1 elite player and 4 spots that could be filled by just about anybody. In this offseason,
who's the elite player, Drew?
It was Laramie Tunstall. So, like, they have traded 2 of their offensive linemen away. One of them was the dude that was locking down the blind side for their top 5 pick, CJ Stroud. What are they doing?
2?
Yeah, number 2 overall.
And so what? The trade was. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, you do it.
Oh, so the trade was exchanged. So basically, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 7th round picks over 2 years. So it's like 3rd and 7th this year, 2nd and 4th next year. And they got a 4th round pick back this year. So they got an elite offensive tackle and a 4th round pick for their 3rd, 7th, and then next year's 2nd and 4th. And when we talk about like value,
this
the value
is robbery.
of next year's and the value of next year's picks are like a round back of this year, right?
Yes.
So like these are, this is larceny.
You know what this says to me?
You don't typically have tackles like this. This quality of tackle hit the open market or make these kind of trades, especially when that's the help that you need.
I couldn't believe it when I saw I literally couldn't believe it. This is what I think is happening. I think Houston has made this deal in particular because they're looking to move up in the draft. And now they have a bunch.
Next year?
No, this year.
Or this year, using all of these picks to move up.
So now we have a bunch of tradable assets. I mean, like, and do they have, I mean, they traded in my opinion, a top 5 tackle in the NFL for a second round pick this year and a 3rd round pick next year, right? No, a 3rd and then a 4th.
Third this year, 7th round this year, 2nd and 4th next year.
Okay. So I think these picks are on the move. Yeah. Like, we have seen Houston make odd plays in the draft. So a couple of years ago, they take Stroud at 2, then they trade back up to 3 immediately to get Will Anderson. Last year in the draft, they traded out of the 1st round like a month before the draft and traded their pick to Minnesota. And then everyone knew Minnesota was going to try and make up a play to go get a quarterback. So Houston filled that role. They traded out of the 1st round right away. And now you get rid of, like, as far as I'm concerned, like, he was the 2nd most important person on the team. Like, you trade Stroud? That guy. What?
Behind Stroud, you got Stroud, and then you got him, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you nailed it. And so now you give that guy away. You gave him away. And for what? Like, I mean, like, I'm wondering what their cap space looks like. Yeah, they're near the bottom of the NFL. They're right now. They're over the cap has them at just under $4 million in cap space, and that's not enough to sign their rookie class.
Yeah.
So,
which is perfect because now they've got all these extra picks.
So like I have not seen them make a move like this that doesn't have a move in the NFL draft that corresponds to it in the same year.
Yeah.
So like to me, this is, like, hey, does that building look like it's going to fall down? Well, I don't know. It's in the process of currently falling. Like I would put good money on it. That's what
let's
this
buy
feels
the property so that way when it falls, we can push it away and build something new, right?
So to me, I don't know if they can literally replace everybody on their offensive line and have done nothing to accomplish that. Look at all the people. Oh, this is Washington's page. Okay. So, but like Washington looks like they are coming for the NFC East.
That's why I want to stay here because yes, they grabbed Laramie Tunsil. So they've added an elite offensive lineman to protect Jaden Daniels. They grabbed Deebo Samuel, right, for a 5th round pick. I know he's been hurt a little bit. He's still a damn good wide receiver, right? So gives Jaden another threat there. Zach Ertz, 1 year, $6.25 million. Ertz was a Pro Bowler multiple years, on the downside of his career, but I still think that he's not bad. Bobby Wagner, again, on the downside of his career, but it's just a 1 year deal. It's not that expensive to get a quality linebacker in there to help build your team up, provide that veteran leadership. He's going to do what Alex Anzalone did for us, right? Yeah. Although at a little bit later of an age, but like all of that's great. And then they go and ruin it by signing Will Harris.
I saw that today and I was like, was this a joke? How is this guy? What kind of blackmail shit does he have on NFL execs to keep getting jobs?
I like Deebo Samuel, great move. Zach Ertz, great move. Laramie Tunsil, great move. Bobby Wagner, great move. Will Harris, what the bloody stumpus?
Gulp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not loving it. And we have the draft yet.
Yeah. All right. So what other? Let's kind of start at the top. So Josh Allen, Buffalo had a lot going on too. Allen was the big one. They grabbed Michael Hoyt from LA. I think they're going to be a little disappointed, to be honest. I watched all of LA since Stafford's been over there, just because I like watching him play. Hoyt was really he's not great. Although 3 years, $24 million. That's only $8 million for an edge rusher, so he's not expected to be great. But they made a lot. Signing Khalil Shakir helps a little bit to give them some weapons on the receiving side of things. But obviously, Allen's the big deal.
Josh Palmer and Khalil Shakir to me are very close to the same player. And it's like whomever runs their team, Billy Bean, I think his name is, or Bobby Bean, I don't know what his name is, but like
Billy Bean was the baseball player.
Well, I mean, it's like his relative, right? I think.
Gotcha.
But like he is in love with one kind of wide receiver, and they are just chock full of them. But anyways, like
we're gonna do it a lot.
Yeah. So I look at Buffalo, and I'm like, okay, you re-signed Greg Rousseau, that's smart. You've extended Josh Allen when you don't need to. Now you'll never have to worry about that again. Excellent work.
At a discount, right?
Yeah, at a discount. That kind of okay. And you've picked up some good players. That's makes a lot of sense. Looks like Buffalo's here to stay. Yeah. The
Dolphins signed Zach Wilson.
There's nothing interesting about this.
Yeah. Well, so Ife Melifonwu, we've kind of talked about that, right? $4 million, 1 year deal, and we weren't willing to even give him that. So, I guess it kind of tells you what we think of what he brings to the team.
I think they have a price point on what they want to pay. Iffy, for all the good things that he's done, has been hurt a lot.
Yep.
And I don't know that I want to pay a guy that's going to, I mean, like, he almost missed the entire season with like a litany of problems this last season, and we could have really used him, you know? So, like, I just think that he's simply not reliable enough to warrant their price point.
Yeah.
And he was for Miami, so okay. I don't wish him any ill will. These motherfuckers just went nuts.
The Patriots kind of went crazy. To me, the big one to talk about, just because we're Lions fans, Carlton Davis, 3 years, $60 million.
So
$20 million a year.
It sounds like what happened was that he had his agents or somebody had a conversation with Detroit, and then the next day he comes out on the internet and is like, I'm going to go and get the bag, you know? And so
I made that mistake once.
Right. When I heard that, you know, and he's also come out and said, like, Dan Campbell's my favorite coach I've ever played for, you know, and that kind of stuff. And it's like, all of this stuff is just words until the money is taken care of.
Yeah.
So he wanted to get his, like, probably this is his last big contract. I'm fine with it. He got $20 million a year. He's probably worth it. And he is going to a team that is bad, you know, and so he is playing for the money. He had an opportunity to take less, probably, most likely, stay in Detroit and play for a winner. He didn't want to do that. So I wish him the best too.
Yep.
But
Josh Dobbs backing up at QB.
He doesn't matter.
No.
Mac Hollins doesn't matter. Austin Hooper doesn't matter. Morgan Moses matters. Harold Landry, I don't think matters. He's a nice player, but I don't know. Milton Williams matters. If he was a rotational part-time player for the Eagles because their line is fantastic. And if he bumps up his snap count by 50% from what he's playing most of his career and still plays like this, then he's one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. So they paid him like he was. And because I think they're trying to pay up to hit their floor. Like, you have to spend 89% of the cap every year. And so they are giving guys this money because they have to hit the cap floor. Right.
Yeah.
So Tonga doesn't matter. Spillane, to me, doesn't matter. Carlton Davis matters. So the way that I look at this is that they signed a starting right tackle. They signed a starting interior defensive lineman. They have their cornerback 1 or maybe cornerback 2, depending on what Christian Gonzalez looks like this year. And then they signed a bunch of role players, and like Harold Landry is probably a starter level player.
Very slowly inching their floor up, right?
That's what they're doing, you know, and this is the problem when you have a lot of cap space and your team's bad, is that you overpay for players, because otherwise that money would be going to players that are worth keeping, that are on your roster, like what Detroit is doing. Yeah. So New England doesn't have those players at all, so they're forced to go into free agency and do this. Not great.
Which we had to do as well at one point.
Yes.
So the New York Jets signed Justin Fields, a 2-year, $40 million deal, $30 million fully guaranteed.
Love it.
And a couple guys that they're not needle movers.
Well, so
do you think? Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Saying, do you think that they regret letting Aaron Rodgers go?
No.
Because of the money or because of the player?
Yes.
All of the above?
Yeah. I think that with Aaron Glenn and that new group coming in, this is just oil and water. Get the fuck off of our lawn. Like, that kind of thing. I love all of these signings for the Jets. All of these things scream Aaron Glenn to me. Coached against Justin Fields, knows what he can do. Now he's going to work for you. Jamian Sherwood is an up-and-coming linebacker that looks like he's going to be a starter. Brandon Stevens has been a good corner in the NFL for a long time, and he's going to be your DJ Reed replacement. And then Andre Sisco is an absolute enormous missile of a player that's going to be in it. So this is your enforcer. Like, this is your Brian Branch type of guy. So, like, and that makes sense why Aaron Glenn would want these players, and they're all relatively reasonable deals. So I quite like and I hate saying it because I hate the Jets, but like, The only reason I hated the Jets is because they made stupid decisions in building their roster for like 20 years. And so, like, if this group can fix that, and I have like the loyalty connection to Glenn, I'll come around on the Jets eventually. But I've hated them for so long; it's hard to let
I
go.
wouldn't mind beating them in the Super Bowl.
Oh, I'm fine with beating anybody in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AFC North, Baltimore Ravens. They've done almost nothing. They re-signed their tackle Ronnie Stanley, which is an important thing to do, right?
Yeah.
It's your tackle. He's good. A fullback they're re-signing.
Yeah.
And then it's crickets.
They never
granted,
they never
were a
do
damn
anything.
good team, but
They don't do anything in free agency ever. So
yeah.
that's fine. They re-sign their guys. They go to the draft. That's what they want to do. And that's what they did.
And that's more or less what we're doing too, right? We signed
Correct.
one guy that wasn't our own.
Cincinnati has made a bunch of moves. None of them, in my opinion, matter at all. You've
Other than
tagged,
T, right?
You've tagged Higgins so that you can get the deal done. The deal's not done.
Right.
So
It'll
Jamar
happen.
Chase, they've told Jamar Chase apparently that he's going to get 40 plus. Deal's not done. They've told Trey Hendricks that he can seek a trade because it's probably looking like it's not going to be able to keep him.
Yeah.
Because everything that they do is delayed and it's pushing the price higher on all these other guys. And so Gesicki doesn't matter. He's a nice player, but he's not. Hudson is depth. Cody Ford is depth. They cut Alex Kappa, one of their interior guys. He went to the Raiders. He got signed immediately. Like, he got signed within like 3 hours of getting cut.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that's got to tell you something. Joseph Asai is a super tiny edge rusher that's been in the league now for a long time. BJ Hill is depth. TJ Slayton is depth. Oren Burks is depth. Cal, I don't even know that guy's name. He's a long snapper. That's why I don't know him. But like, that's just who, I mean, so like whatever money they just spent there has nothing to do with the big problems that they have to solve on their roster.
Yeah.
So I'm really unhappy with what I've seen out of Cincinnati. And like, this just goes like, I just feel like Cincinnati is the most overrated team in the NFL. And it's not because Joe Burrow's not good or Jamar Chase isn't good. It's because of how they're conducting their business. And like, if you want to maximize Joe Burrow, like, he's almost holding their owner's feet to the fire to basically be like, I want these guys here. Like, I'll take a pay cut, restructure my deal. Like, let's get under the cap. Let's give these guys some money. Let's go ahead and do this kind of stuff. He's doing it in public. Like, he's pushing as hard as he can push nicely with the organization. But if these guys don't get their shit together and build a team, I mean, like, is it crazy to think that we could see Joe Burrow's name being like, this dude just wiped Cincinnati off his Instagram page, in like 2 years?
So I think that there's a very real possibility that Joe Burrow does the Matthew Stafford thing.
Sure.
Where he tried, he wanted to win in Detroit so bad for so long. He stuck around way long. Like, Aaron Rodgers never would have signed a second contract in Detroit. And Stafford, signed 3. And finally he went, all right, I'm not going to rebuild again. Send me to some place that's got a shot. And like, great, that kickstarted what we did and was able to finally build a team. I wouldn't be surprised if in about 3 years, Joe Burrow is that guy where he's like, I just send me. Like, I love Cincinnati, I love the community, but I just need to go somewhere else. I hope not, because I love watching him and Jamar Chase together. I think T. Higgins is fun to watch there as well. But someone as good as Joe Burrow should have a Super Bowl ring before he retires. And I just don't see it happening here. Not with the way that they're building things.
Because the team is regressing from under their feet. And it's
even
nothing,
with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Like,
and the triple crown winning wide receiver. And you're like, getting worse? How the hell does that happen?
You have a quarterback, you have your quarterback, you have wide receiver 1, you have wide receiver 2, you have edge 1, right? And you have at least you have guys who are not terrible.
Yeah.
At your tackles. And you are regressing.
Yeah.
And it's because of how you conduct business. It's gross because they're squandering people. And like, if there's anybody that's qualified to speak about their team squandering talent, it's Detroit Lions fans.
It's
that are
Detroit
buying.
Lions fans for sure. Yep. Kenny Two Gloves
Yeah.
in Cleveland. Good luck. Have fun.
Done. Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Oh, so this is fun to talk about.
Yeah.
The Steelers have George Pickens. He's a little bit of a bitch, right?
A little bit.
He's a little bit of a
That's
bitch.
very kind of you.
So what happens? You bring in a taller, heavier bitch, and then give him all the money that you were going to pay the original bitch. So are they trading George Pickens?
I can't think. I would assume no, right?
Well,
Right?
how is this going to work? Because can you not see this? Like in week 3, each guy gets 6 targets, and they're in the media after the game being like, "Oh, I wish I could really help the team win," or whatever. What is this?
Hilarious. This is George Pickens and DCAT. Let me see.
Oh yeah, always sunny.
I saw this and like, this is hilarious. Anyway,
I've never watched that show, but watching clips and like blooper reels of it is maybe the best show ever. They are hilarious.
yeah. Anyway, I saw that DK Metcalf Pickens thing, and it cracked me up. So I figured I'd share it with everybody.
Yeah, that's good. But like, those guys are not going to get along, and heaven forbid the Steelers start the season like 1-2, 1-3.
Yeah.
It's going to be a nightmare. So to me, they're just mirror images of each other. Like, they're the same guy. And like, you made the decision to pay DK. Okay, fine. I don't care. If that's the choice you made, you got him for a song. I mean, a 2nd-round pick. I mean, that's about as rich as it's going to get in the NFL for a wide receiver. And then you extended him. You gave him $132 million. So I mean, like, you're not going to pay 2 wide receivers unless you're the Cincinnati Bengals who are dragging their feet on it. You're not going to pay 2 wide receivers that much money. So what are you going to do with George Pickens? I mean, that's my thing.
You're going to do T. Higgins things, right? You're going to
trading
franchise tag him, then you're going to franchise tag him, and then you'll sign him because Metcalf will be off of his contract.
So I'm just
looking. You're going to have a pissed off wide receiver for 2 years as you back-to-back tag him.
I'm just looking at where he might go. That would have him.
Mean?
Well, like if they wanted to trade George Pickens, like where would they trade him? Like,
so let's talk about that, because I think there's a couple of guys. You know, we talked about where was it? One of these in here.
I didn't see that, Brian. That sounds funny.
Nice. So we talked about Amari Cooper. We talked about Stephon Diggs is still available. And as of tomorrow, Cooper Kupp's going to be available.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the same group of people or the same group of teams are going to want all of those. So, where do you think those 4 will go? Like, what are the good teams that are trying to get that wide receiver 2 type of player, which is more or less what those guys are? So they could be a wide receiver 1 on a bad team, but they're probably a wide receiver 2 on most decent teams.
You said who? Kupp, and then
Cooper Kupp, Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs, and the guy we were just talking about in Pittsburgh.
Okay, so let's start with Cooper, because I think he's the easiest. He's going to get cut, and then he's going to get to go where he wants.
Yep.
And so I think the place that I would like to see him personally go is the Philadelphia Eagles, to be like their wide receiver 3. And just to I mean, like, those
Michael 2 guys will appreciate that, by the way.
Sure. So like, and I certainly live to say things that he appreciates. You know, all hail King Eagles, rulers of the NFL currently. But I think he will take a discount to go to a winning team. And I think that he would be fine with, yeah, okay, I'm not going to get the same kind of target share that Matt had. But I mean, Matt does a really good job at being like, oh, there you are, my favorite guy. 3 dudes, no problem. Zip. Like he will fit the ball into a window about the size of a pigeon. So like Matt has guys who have large target shares. He's going to have it again this year.
He's going to have 2.
Well, he's going to feed Nacua until Nacua gets hurt, and then he'll feed Adams. So, but I think that he would be a perfect wide receiver 3 for a contender, and so I think that he'll take less
Kansas
money.
City?
Yeah, he could go to Kansas City. I mean,
I
also like
good
that
route runner, right?
Yeah,
he is about as good as they come as a route runner. His biggest problem is health. It's not can he catch. He's a lot like St. Brown. He doesn't drop balls. He's super smart. He runs a great route. The question is, can he stay healthy? So,
well,
if he can do that, God, I'd hate to see what Kansas City can do with a guy like him.
Well, they're currently $19 million over the cap, and they need to figure some shit out in the next 24 hours.
Kansas City is?
Yeah. They are the worst cap position currently in the NFL. So the Dolphins are $11 million over, and the Chiefs are $19 million over.
Are the Saints finally under?
Yeah, they're 19.
It took them 3 years, but they're finally.
They restructured Derek Carr's contract and saved like $40 million. So, but they're pushing out. Here's the one thing. The one thing the Saints are doing this year that they've never done in the Mickey Loomis era is that they're taking the guys that are currently on the team and they're just extending them. So they're eating the void year money in this year and adding a little bit on top of it for the extension. And so they're finally chewing into their void years. And it's like the first baby step in order to getting their cap into some semblance of like decency. But so I don't know. I think that like I wouldn't mind seeing like George Pickens in Las Vegas. I don't know that I would mind seeing like Stephon Diggs with the Saints or something like that as complementary pieces. Because I don't.
Stephon Diggs would ever go back to Minnesota?
No.
As a wide receiver, he's probably too good to be a wide receiver 3 behind Addison and JJ,
right? I do think he's too good. He would probably be fighting Addison for that role, and they're paying Addison way less.
Yeah.
And like I got the feeling that there was a ton of animosity with now all the guys are good, I believe.
Yeah.
But like there was a ton of animosity for him when he left Minnesota. So like to me,
right. I don't want him in our division anyway. He's really good.
Yeah. So I think he's probably in for like a couple years of like a one year, 2 year deal here or there, and he's gonna start hopping around the league. I don't think he's gonna get like a long term you're a pillar of the team deal anymore. Yeah. So Houston's terrible.
Houston has done a whole bunch of nothing, like a whole bunch of nothing.
I don't understand it at all. You trade for Christian Kirk, okay, but like Christian Kirk is exactly like 2 or 3 other wide receivers that you have, and the only reason that they did it was because Tank Dell got hurt, and he's a Tank Dell replacement, and they're not stuck. They're not stuck with him like the way they are committed to Tank Dell or whatever, So like he's a placeholder until Tank Dell is healthy, if he's ever healthy again. And then all of these other moves don't matter.
Yeah. They did acquire C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
They got the fucking Eagles fleeced them again.
Yep. We were talking about that beforehand.
I couldn't believe that. So Chauncey Gardner-Johnson goes to the Texans. Fine. I don't care. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's nothing as far as I'm concerned. They get back Kenyon Green, who's 24 years old and has certainly not lived up to the prestige of being a mid-first round pick. Okay. But he's going to the place that turns foreign exchange players from Australia into the best tackles in the NFL. This is the team that revitalized Mekhi Becton. Like, and now you're going to give them a 24-year-old that's like, oh, this is how you do shit here? Okay. So like, I think they got, in the long term, the better player. They get off of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's money. They get the better of the 2 picks that are exchanged. And just as a middle finger that they're not getting, they got Houston to pay down Kenyon Green's salary. Like, so they were like, we want Green, but he doesn't have to cost us anything. He's like a 1.5 million. They were like, cool. What else you got? We want the better draft pick. Cool. Here you go. What else you want? We want to give you the old guy that we're paying too much in our secondary so we can continue to go youth movement.
And you got to take all of that salary.
You got to take all the salary. They're like, all right, cool. Now, finally, can we take this selfie? You know, like, yep.
Yeah, Howie worked his magic again.
You know, they picked their pockets as far as I'm concerned. And now it's not the kind of thing that's like, ooh, difference maker, you know, from either team. But like, Howie improved his pick for one round. He got a dude for free as a backup. And if they flip him into a starter, it's a compensatory pick walking out the door. Or who knows, by the time he's 26 and in their system for a couple of years, he might be worth a starting level guard. So why not take that chance for a dude that you're just like, nah, fine, I'll get out of here, Chauncey. Shut your mouth. Like, no,
it cost them $1.5 million to upgrade their pick and get rid of a guy that was not a difference maker.
I don't get it. I don't understand how people can be like, continue to be like, Howie, what do you need? All right, fine, we'll give it to you.
What if we? How about? Do you want more than that?
Like, hang on, my owner's calling me
for this, but how about we also take some of his salary?
I'm sorry, it's Howie Roseman. What do you mean? I have to give him what he wants.
That's the way this works.
He's a golden GM. Didn't understand it.
Yeah. The Colts. Daniel Jones finds a home as backup to AR-15.
No.
Or replacement already?
Not a backup. He has been told that he will compete for the starting job.
Okay.
So that's a coin flip for him.
Yeah.
And then I don't know anything.
$14 million makes. It makes sense for Indy to do.
Sure.
He wasn't horrible in New York. He wasn't as good as his salary was, but he wasn't actually detrimental to the team. The GM and the coaching was that, but
I think he's got an opportunity here to carve out a niche for himself. Like, I like that Indianapolis made this move. It's a super huge indictment of Anthony Richardson. This might be the.
Are we going to say I told you so? Because that was one of those guys that you wanted to
I really wanted the Lions to take Anthony Richardson. This is the difference. Yeah. I think it matters where someone goes.
Oh, 100%.
And yeah, exactly. And so I think that what Indy did in developing Anthony Richardson was probably the wrong play. Yeah. But then I start to think about it, and I'm like, is it? They have a good line. They have the only position on their entire team that isn't chock full of a day 1 or day 2 pick is tight end, which they could rectify in this year's class. You know, what haven't they done for Anthony Richardson? I think this is a work ethic issue from Anthony Richardson part of it, and this is the fallout of him asking out of that game during the season where he lost the locker room.
Yeah.
And so they brought in Daniel Jones to basically say to Anthony Richardson, okay, kid, if you're not going to do this, if you're not going to work and be a professional, then we're going to go get one, even if it's Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And they're relatively similar players. They're big dudes who are mobile, have big arms, but they have flaws. So, the difference is Daniel Jones has done it in the NFL and doesn't have the fucking attitude problem. So, I like that they went out and got Travarius Ward from San Francisco. I like that they went and got Cameron Bynum from the Vikings because it gets them out of the division. So, they are addressing their secondary. The only bad thing is that most of their offensive line left.
Well, I will say, to your point, I think Daniel Jones, it's a little bit of a flyer, right? So you don't exactly know what you're going to get. He's not a franchise quarterback, but he's a capable quarterback in a pinch. And I think between that and boosting their defense a bit, I think these are fine moves. You're not going to find a franchise quarterback on free agency most of the time, right? So you have to get the best of the rest, and he's on that list of the rest. So I think overall they're having a pretty good off season. Not super
But
splashy, but I
no,
think
I
making
like what
incremental
they've done.
improvements in areas that they need it.
Correct. You
Yeah.
know, this is another team I
Uh,
just don't understand at all. I
Jacksonville.
thought they fired Trent Baalke. um, so okay, Nick Mullins is going to
Isn't
be a back.
Diane Brown? Wasn't he just drafted like a year or two ago?
It feels that way, but he's no, he's in. This is his second contract.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
And it's just a 1 year, $10 million deal, huh?
yeah.
So he is wide receiver 3-ish, wide
So this
receiver
is
4-ish.
the same Tutu Atwell contract, right? So this is
Yeah.
what these kind of guys go for. So speedsters that are undersized, 9 route runners, stretch the field guys. This is what the NFL is saying we're willing to pay. Hunter
Right.
Long is a dude. Okay. Robert Hainsey, I think, is a good signing, an upgrade for them. Patrick McCarry is a solid, if not spectacular, interior offensive lineman. They made Jordan Lewis the highest paid nickel cornerback in the league. I don't understand that one at all. The nice thing I have to say about Jordan Lewis is that he went to Michigan and has the most gorgeous interception I've ever seen in my entire life. And Eric Murray, okay, that's a guy because you lost Andre Cisco to the Jets.
Right.
So I don't see anything here that's a needle mover. I think they raised their floor a little with their offensive line signings.
Yep.
I really can't wait to
Tennessee
get to the NFC North because I really have a lot to say about them.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there. Tennessee, and a lot of these aren't needle movers, right? So we'll probably roll through some of these. Like Tennessee, I don't think there's anything. Sebastian Joseph Day, he's on the downside of his career. I think he's fine. He's a fine re-sign for them, but nothing. None of these guys are needle movers. They are making sure that their floor doesn't sink.
So I think that Dan Moore could be a needle mover.
Okay.
He is one of the more underrated offensive linemen, in my opinion, in the NFL, and has just been a workhorse kind of guy in Pittsburgh up until now. And now he's got his bag, right? So the Titans drafted this kid Latham out of Alabama last year. Massive tackle. And everyone was like, okay, they drafted a right tackle, but they played him at left. Okay, so what did they do this year in free agency? They went out and got one of the better left tackles on the open market and paid him like he was.
Yeah.
And now Latham is going to be your right tackle. You know,
Which
and
is
so
natural
like
position.
right is more natural, you know, and so like I think that Tennessee is putting together a sneaky, solid offensive line. They have Dan Moore, Skoronski, Cushenberry, and now Latham. So they are really only missing a right guard that's worth his salt. And if this unit gels and everybody's like, okay, cool, like it helps me that I'm playing next in between Cushenberry and Latham. I've got Cushenberry and Moore. Latham's on the other side. You know, like I think that there's something there. You could see that unit ascend in like NFL offensive lineman rankings.
Yeah.
So I like that. Everything else doesn't matter so far.
Yeah, I had him pegged as my floor is not sinking, but you're probably right. It's probably a boost up when it allows them to make the flexibility changes on their line.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if they are a Cam Ward or an Abdul Carter team come the draft. So
yeah.
Well, so like right now they have the number 1 pick, so they can just go get Cam Ward if they want to. Or depending on what happens with the Giants, if the Giants are like, hey, what up, Tennessee? Like, can we come up? I'll give you a package of some amount of day 2 picks or maybe my first next year or two in order to get there. And then they're like, okay, cool. Now we're in the Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter market.
Right.
Like, it's fine. Like, we're still going to get
They're in a great position draft-wise.
Yeah.
They
So
can take the best of whatever they want, more or less. Here's an entire team that has really done nothing to raise their floor. I feel like all of these signings are like, well, at least we're not getting any worse. I think
Well,
Hufanga is good. Like I think he's a quality safety, and helps boost the back end maybe a little bit. But that's about the only thing that I thought like, oh, okay,
so Hufanga is a good safety
yep,
when healthy, and Dre Greenlaw is one of the better coverage linebackers in the NFL. So here's the thing: is that like the strength of this team last year was their defense, and their defense got better.
yeah.
So okay, but what are we doing to help Bo Nix? So it's not
Well,
Matt
they got
Peart.
a good backup for him to be in the quarterback room. That's about
What?
it. They
Oh,
grabbed
Jared
Jared
Stidham.
Stidham. Yeah,
Whatever, that's fine.
yeah, backup. That's
So
the
like
injury insurance.
I'm curious how Denver's going to address their offense.
Uh, Draft. I think they're going to probably focus on the draft.
You want to talk about a team that didn't do much? It's a lot of players, but like I don't like what they've done.
The only thing I really like is I really like the fact that they did not let Nick Bolton leave because he may be the best linebacker in the NFL. He is, to me, he's like top five for sure, and he was a difference maker in most of their big games. So to me, that's the only thing that I'm like, yes, they did the right thing. They absolutely had to do. Everybody else is just like, okay, they tagged Trey Smith, and he's a good guard, but I'm not. Is he a $23.4 million guard, or is he just? Are they doing this to let their floor not sink?
It's the latter. I mean, like I don't know that there's a $23 million guard in the entire NFL. The only
Oh,
one
there
that I
has to be. This is the average of the top five
well, I
or
don't
the
know that
top
even if you're
10.
paying them that, I don't know that they're worth it. I mean, that's the point, right?
Fair. I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
So like they certainly think that they can't live without Trey Smith because they tagged him. And they basically tagged him as if he's the tackle. So okay. I disagree with you about Bolton. I mean, I think he's a good linebacker. I don't think he's anywhere close to the top linebacker in the NFL. Whatever.
Well,
I
maybe
like
not number one, but I think he's probably top five. Or you don't even think he's top five?
well, if we're gonna do this, let me just look at a bunch of we're not gonna say that he's an edge rusher, right? We're saying that he's an off ball linebacker, right?
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so so this is just a list of guys by what they're getting paid. So Roquan Smith, Fred Warner, Tremaine Edwards, Jamie and Sherwood, I don't know, Matt Milano, Patrick Queen, Robert Spillane, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Cleveland. I mean, there's not a ton of guys on here that I would take above him, but like, I mean, I like Bobby Wagner more than I like Nick Bolton. I mean, I don't like him more in the next 3 years than I like Nick Bolton, but like,
He's listed as his PFF.
oh, I can get that for you. The Chiefs, the lineup. The Bolton came in 44th out of 84 linebackers last year.
I was looking at the top. I'm like, I don't see him here. But I guess he struggled a little bit more last year than I thought. I didn't watch all their games.
He played really well in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So good job. That's when you should play well.
Yeah.
But so I think $15 million a year is a little bit rich for him, but I mean they gave it to him, so they believe in him, so that's fine. I really like the Christian Fulton signing. 2 years, $20 million, and then everything else is just keeping guys in place. But like when you have Patrick Mahomes, the problem that you're trying to solve is erosion, right? And so this looks like we just put up a bunch of sandbags on the beach to me. So
and this is where I'm like, why are they not going for Cooper Kupp? Why are they not going for Amari Cooper? Why are they not going for Stephon Diggs?
Because they're over the cap. They don't have any money.
Got to fix that.
Yeah, you got to fix that. So, and they have until I think tomorrow to fix it. So
Las Vegas, Danny pointed out that our 6-man mock draft that we did lasted about 24 hours because if you remember right, as Las Vegas, we traded up number 1 to grab Cam Ward, and then Las Vegas like the next day goes and trades for Geno Smith. Yeah, so like, well, that's not going to happen.
It took me a minute to figure it out because it was Danny.
Yeah, yeah,
right.
So it did not. That mock draft did not age well. Which is the fun part of doing that mock draft is the fact that all of this shit hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So we get a wide open, space to play.
Right. So this is another team that I just straight up don't understand. You trade a 3rd round pick for Geno Smith. Fine. They must believe that he is a top 10, top 15 quarterback in the NFL. He might be. But now you have to extend him. Okay. They signed Alex Kappa. Unlike Danny, I think that Alex Kappa is a worthwhile player. You extended Max Crosby. Fine. Probably deserved an extension. You brought back Malcolm Kuntz. He missed all of last year. That's a pretty cheap deal. 1 year, $12 million. Adam Butler's, I think, underrated interior defensive lineman. You signed Jeremy Chin from the Commanders. So that what this tells me is like they're going to come and hit people.
Yep.
So they want to be like those Raiders back in the day when they had the dudes with the shoulder pads in the stands. And then
they're
Isaiah,
still there, but they got a beard now.
Oh, gotcha. And then they signed Isaiah Polamau, who I don't know. They've lost Trayvon Morwig. Well, tell Joe Burrow to get the ball out of his hands faster, Danny. I don't know. This looks like the beginnings of a plan. Let's retain. They went and got a quarterback. So, I mean, like, if Cam Ward was somehow slipped to 6 or something like that, I think you still draft Cam Ward. Like, I mean, like, just Geno Smith doesn't mean you can't take one of those guys.
Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes. Not that I'm calling Cam Ward Patrick Mahomes, but, like, they had a Pro Bowler, and they went and grabbed a quarterback at 11 or whatever he was drafted at.
You know, and, like, it's not a perfect analogy by any stretch, but, like, Josh Rosen into Kyler Murray. I mean, one was the number 10th overall pick. One was next year was number 1 overall pick. Yeah. I mean, like, these guys don't preclude you from taking a guy that you think you might have a better future with, right?
Especially if the guy that you have there is, I would call him a Jay Cutler type of thing. He's semi sought after, and he can do okay in certain situations, but he's not all pro. He's not a franchise quarterback, but he can get you along. He can be not embarrassing for your team, right?
Yeah, I think that's what this is that they wanted someone who wasn't Gardner Minshew, who they cut, and who isn't Aiden O'Connell, who just isn't the guy, you know? And so now they have someone, who has done it, right? He's a starter. I mean, I think I put Geno near the Jared Goff level of NFL competency. Okay, Jared's had a better last couple of years. I think Geno's not that much different than Jared Goff. So, congratulations, Las Vegas Raiders. You have a captain of your ship. So now, what's the next move? Like, what are you doing at 6? If they draft Ashton Jeanty from Boise State, I'm going to lose my shit. You know, like, I can't believe that they would, but like. That's what everybody wants them to do, and I don't want it to happen. So
it's Dallas' job anyway, so it's all good.
Right. Oh God. I love Ashton Jeanty as a player, and I just don't think that anybody should draft him in the first round.
At least not in not top 10, right? If you're drafting in the top 10, you have bigger needs than a running back.
I would imagine.
Chargers. Let's roll through some of these so we can get to the NFC North.
Right.
I think Najee Harris is fine. He's a good running back.
Jim Harbaugh recruited him in high school and didn't get him, so now he's got him.
Hey, Shan.
Hey, Shannon.
Good to see you. It's been a while. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack, $18 million.
That's cheap.
Hell, I'd do that.
Yep.
It's a real bummer that we couldn't do that. But everybody else on here is nothing.
They're just guys.
They're just guys, right?
Yep, they're just guys.
All right, we're now in the NFC. Let's talk about the Cowboys. Whole lot of guys.
They re-signed Odigizua. I thought that was a good move. They signed Solomon Thomas. He's a good player near the end of his career. Everyone else is a guy. This is the Cincinnati Bengals all over again. They have not addressed the big problems that they're facing in the offseason. Danny's on tonight. Hey, little Coates. Danny's on tonight. Danny Coates
on the probably on the stream, like in chat.
Oh. All right. Well, you guys got a really loyal group of followers there. I don't really care anything about Dallas. Like Dallas is poised. Like I think they're a balloon, and they better not get like popped. So
yeah, the popping will be when they sign. Oh my God, we just
Micah.
Yes, yeah, Parsons.
I mean, they can't afford to let Micah walk.
Right.
I would. I'll tell you one thing.
Through the nose.
I'll tell you one thing right now.
Start popping their balloon.
For whatever reason, the whole Myles Garrett to Detroit thing, and I was like, I don't think that'll happen. I don't think you should break the bank for it. I would break the bank for Micah Parsons on Detroit.
Oh, God, that'd be so much fun.
Okay, this is another team that's done nothing much. Here's a couple things I really like for them. I like them.
They got a quarterback in their quarterback room.
Sure, finally. Great. Tommy Nuggets or whatever his name is, Cutlets or whatever it was. I hate him. Paulson Adebo, good corner. Jevon Holland, good safety. Those are the things they did well. They're addressing their secondary for the Giants. See what they do in the draft. Next.
Whole lot of guys, not a lot of value, not a lot of needle moving. Philadelphia, they got a backup. They got rid of Kenny Two Gloves and got a different backup instead. Probably
got the ring backup. And they got out of town.
Yeah, and a 5th round pick. So
yeah, the jewel thief.
Saquon Barkley, 2-year extension, $41.2 million in new money, $36 million guaranteed. Offensive Player of the Year. He was the cog to their offense. Jalen Hurts played well, but he was the thing that made their offense go. And we already talked about Kenyon Green, larceny yet again.
Zach Bond was one of those prove it contracts that paid off, and he got signed. So good job. Yeah. They seem to find players. Yeah. Love what Washington's done. We talked about Washington.
Yeah. Everything except for the Will Harris signing.
Will Harris is terrible. Can't believe he's on an NFL roster.
All right, NFC North, baby. Chicago Bears.
Okay. I really like what they've done. I really like it a lot.
I like almost everything that they've done.
So
I'm not a big fan of the Jonah Jackson trade. I think they got fleeced there.
Shannon, we're not allowed to sign Joe Burrow. He's under contract with another team.
But she's right. We are a Joe Burrow away from the Super Bowl.
I would give a year off the end of my life today to just switch Jared Goff and Joe Burrow. Okay, so Durham Smythe is nothing. I think Jonah Jackson is in a place where he can be successful because he's familiar with what they want to run. Joe Thuney is an excellent guard. Drew Dahlman is a center that is undersized but is perfect for the system that Ben wants to run. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's last name. It would be better to watch. I would like it a lot more. But I like the fact that they went out. So this guy, Adeo Odigbo, he's the Marcus Davenport of the defense. And their defensive coordinator wants to run the same defense that Detroit is running. So these signings are analogous to the way the Detroit Lions have built their team. So
Scott Daly was our long snapper, right?
Correct, for years.
So, yeah.
So Grady Jarrett is DJ Reader, Deo Odigbo is Marcus Davenport, and you have Gervon Dexter and Montez Sweat. So here's the thing is tell me where the Bears aren't good right now. Right. The only problem that the Bears have going into next season is Caleb Williams. And you have Ben Johnson in this bitch's ear for like however long it's been now.
Yeah.
And he's going to get him, I believe, to a place where it's like, this is what we need you to do, Caleb. We don't need you to play hero ball for us anymore. You don't like Kmet? All right, that's fine. But like, so even Keenan Allen is off the roster right now, right? So here's the thing. Like, if you're the Bears at 10, and like that kid from Arizona, Tet McMillan, if he's sitting there at 10, you don't have to re-sign Keenan Allen. You can have Tet McMillan as your X, DJ Moore as your Z, and you just move Roma Dunze into the slot. That's sick. That's straight up sick. So like, I guess it's Swift might be one of the weak points on the roster, but like this is the deepest draft at running back that the NFL has seen in maybe 20 years. And like the Bears have 2 picks in the top third of the second round. So like, is Omarion Hampton, who is an absolute clone of David Montgomery, going to be available at like 40? I don't know. If he is, like, he's a Chicago Bear for sure. So like, I think by the time the NFL draft is done, I'm going to look at the Chicago Bears and I'm going to be like, if Caleb Williams is just a game manager for them and nothing else, you better watch your shit when it comes to the Chicago Bears because they're coming. I like this a lot for them.
I think their offensive line was the biggest problem last year. I think Caleb Williams being a rookie and lack of experience, that didn't help at all. But like, hey, rookie quarterback on an otherwise not particularly great team, right? So that's to be expected. Their offensive line was horrendous last year.
Yeah.
Dahlman is a pretty solid center.
Yeah.
He's not Ragnow, but like,
no,
there's only a couple guys that are as good as Ragnow, right? So I'm not a big fan of Jackson. I thought he underperformed in Detroit. We let him walk. He went to LA. He couldn't play more than 4 games, and he got benched. And I think this is going to be a mistake for them, but I don't think it's any worse than the guy they had there before. So
Evan Jenkins,
if he does take a step up, awesome. If he doesn't, no harm, no foul. Other than the loss of the 6th round pick, which is again a 6th round pick.
Not crazy.
Yeah. I think it's a fine move. I just don't think they're going to get what they think they're going to get, and I think their offensive line will continue to be the worst part of their team, especially if those other guys don't take a step up. But I think they're definitely going to be much better next year than they were this past year.
If they get what they think they're getting with Jonah Jackson, watch out because it's a steal.
Yeah,
it's an absolute steal.
All right, the giant list of Detroit moves: resign.
If this list was everything and DJ Reed was off of it, I'd be like, okay, that's exactly what I would have thought.
Yeah,
they would have done is a couple of moves right off the bat, re-sign your own guys, but then this one they added a day one replacement at a 20% discount from Carlton Davis.
Yeah.
So, and like, if you look at DJ Reed per PFF grade, he's a better player than Carlton Davis. So like, I would say again, like, here's Brad getting a discount on a better player that does exactly what they want. Yeah. So the only concern I have about DJ Reed is his height. No one else seems to be concerned with it. So, okay.
Right. Yeah. When I first saw this, I'm like, 3. And I looked, only Baltimore has fewer moves, at least on this list. So, but this is exactly what we tend to do, right? We build through the draft, and we don't need to go out and our floor is already so high,
right?
Like, it's really hard to get. I saw a comment earlier today about, well, I'm really disappointed that the Lions haven't made any moves. All the other teams in the NFC North are making big moves, and I'm thinking to myself, because they have to. Because
they have to. And those moves aren't as good because, I mean, like, we're going to talk about the other 2 teams in the NFC North here in just a second, but like, because like all three of our opponents in the North are now doing something where they're spending in free agency to raise their floor because their floor is not as high. And they've had to go to like the one level down of roster building in order to accomplish that. So like I think that long term, Detroit's in a position where they're going to be able to outspend these guys. So first of all, can you help me understand what Danny says? Also, if either they get a new it or their figures it out, their O-line is really solid. What?
That's an LT left tackle.
Oh, left tackle.
Yeah.
Danny, caps, bro. It's not that hard.
Capitalize.
Okay?
Capitalize.
All right, let's look at the Packers real quick.
Not a lot of moves.
But good ones.
But good ones. Aaron Banks is a really good signing for them. Really good.
Isaiah McDuffie ended up on the field at the end of last year, so he might be a starter for them. Yep. Nate Hobbs, I know that they've got issues right now with Jair Alexander. We're going to see what they're doing with him. I would try and I would love to have Jair Alexander, but probably not for the Lions. So Nate Hobbs might be a Jair filler. Certainly not a replacement.
On draft day, if you're Brad, do you trade the first round pick for Jair?
No, because there's no place for him to play.
No.
So if you trade for Jair Alexander right now, you either are sitting Terrion Arnold, who I think,
right, because
they signed DJ Reed, it's very clear to me that they think Terrion Arnold is the number one guy. And that DJ Reed, even though he's been considered a really good corner, he's been a really good number 2 corner. So to me, this reads as Terrion's gonna play against the best guy on the opposing team every time. That would match up with what they had him do as a rookie. And then DJ's gonna take the second guy, and there we go. And then Amik's probably going to be on the field in the slot, and that's who they all play up. They all play above height, weight, speed, what people think of them kind of guys. And so like if you add that, then there's just nowhere for Jair to play. So who do you get rid of? You the guy you traded up for in the first round, or the guy that you just signed day one of free agency?
Do you bump Reed to slot?
No, you don't. You don't trade for him.
So I'm saying, like, in that scenario, if we did get him, would Reed be a good slot corner?
No,
I don't know enough about his
outside.
play, so.
He is an outside corner only, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
But he's excellent at it. So, but I just hope that he makes it somewhere out of the NFC.
Yeah,
like get him out of the NFC, as far as I'm concerned. So I like what the Vikings have done almost as much as I liked what the Bears have done. Except that I think like the Vikings are a year behind the Bears because they had 4 quarterbacks on the roster and they're all of them but JJ McCarthy are gone. So Darnold went to Seattle. Mullins went to Jacksonville, and Daniel Jones went to Indy. Are we getting a comp pick for anyone? If the Lions if the Lions don't sign any additional unrestricted free agents at all the rest of the season, we get a 7th rounder for Iffy.
That's will get a comp pick for Aaron Glenn leaving.
Right.
And next year too, I believe, right?
So we get a comp pick for Aaron this year, and we'll get a 3rd rounder for Aaron next year.
And it's 3rd round both years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, so this is my thing. Like my thing this year for the Lions, which they've largely not done, is that I wanted them to re-sign their own guys because it doesn't count against the compensatory formula and not sign any unrestricted free agents. And the first fucking thing they did was they went out and signed a day 1 unrestricted free agent. So, and my problem with that was that fucking Carlton Davis got the bag, dude. Like Carlton Davis was he was gonna be a super high. Like we could just I wanted them to sign Kendall Fuller. And then maybe trade for somebody or just let Ennis take it or draft somebody. There's probably going to be some corners at 28 that you could take. So I was like,
cool, I'm fine with. Cool. Would you trade next year's 3rd round for Reed?
DJ Reed, yeah, I would.
Yeah. And that's essentially what we just did, right?
Right.
And not just next year's third round comp,
Right.
which is the beginning of the fourth round for all intents and purposes. So yeah, I think we need that. Our secondary got hurt again quite a bit last year, and having him on there is better than having another comp pick next year.
Maybe. The comp pick comes with a super cheap contract attached to it. So, I mean, I don't know.
And a lottery ticket.
It's a lottery ticket. All right. So the Vikings, Aaron Jones, fine. He's a good running back. I understand why they did it. Here's what I think they just went nuts. Is Will Fries and Ryan Kelly both were on the Colts offensive line last year. So they've imported the interior of the Colts line. Okay. It's better than what they currently have.
Yeah.
So Ryan Kelly is a straight step up from Garrett Bradbury. Will Fries is a guy that a lot of teams wanted on their teams. So I think that once again, here we have the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings all went out into free agency and addressed the interior of their offensive line. Right? Now, they all had to pay more than what Detroit did in order to fix it. So,
because we drafted ours.
Right.
Other than Zeitler.
And Zeitler was $6 million.
Right?
So, I also like that they signed. I mean, so Danny was asking me yesterday, like, what would you do with Jonathan Allen? I would not do this. I would not pay him $17 million a year to be the backup to Aleem McNeil once he's healthy. So now I've also seen a report that Javon Hargrave, who the Niners cut, what is also Minnesota's in talks to sign him. So if they sign Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, then I really like what they have done because all the teams in the North addressed both lines.
Yeah.
Except the Packers on their defensive line, but like that's not really a problem for them. So
well, we didn't really. I mean, I guess we addressed our line, but not really.
Well, I mean,
we signed a dude.
So I mean,
I'm not sure it's addressing it.
I'll rephrase: the teams in the North who are not Detroit, like
okay, yeah.
Because like Detroit hasn't needed to make these moves,
right?
So at least the thing that they're doing to get better, and they all got better. At least their moves are eating into their cap space. But I mean, like. That's not.
Byron Murphy's not a bad signing either, too, right? They need.
I was hoping he would leave.
Yeah, right.
So, they had another guy who ended up, I think, going to the Colts. So, like, basically, the Vikings and the Colts were like, "You guys want to just like maybe you go there and I go there?" Like, okay, that's cool. But like,
we'll sell each other our houses too, just
pretty much. Like, no, I've got this great place just outside the city. Whatever, it's a circle. The highway's a circle around it. Everything's great. But like. I think that the Vikings got better. The thing that I think hinders both the Bears and the Vikings is that they have young quarterbacks. So, and I think that Caleb is closer to being a Jordan Love level player than JJ McCarthy is right now because JJ just hasn't done it yet.
Right.
So we will see about the North, but it got better. The Falcons got worse. They re-signed Jake Matthews. They signed Leonard Floyd. That's fine. They signed a decent linebacker from the Raiders. Okay. They cut Grady Jarrett. Like, I think that all of these moves, and like you cut Grady Jarrett, you lose your starting center. Like those are problems.
Yeah. This is I don't want my floor to fall.
Right.
And nothing else raises it.
Correct. Andy Dalton back in Carolina. Hooray.
2-year deal. Interesting. Not a lot of backups signed multi-year deals.
Yeah, he's a straight backup. So I like,
especially the way that Bryce Young played at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Once he came back, it's like he got it, and he played really strong. So he is there for leadership and mentoring, and if Bryce Young gets hurt.
Right. This was the team that was in on Milton Williams from the Philadelphia Eagles. They were going to put him next to The huge son of a bitch they got in the middle of their line, who I can never remember his name, Carolina Panthers lineup. And of course, he's not on the lineup because he's hurt. So we'll just have to go down here. Derek
The
Brown.
big guy. Yeah.
Derek Brown. So pairing Milton Williams and Derek Brown together would have been nasty. So they lost a bidding war to New England. So they pivoted and they got Tershawn Wharton from the Chiefs. Okay, I don't like it as much. I really like signing Trayvon Moehrig from the Raiders. I've liked him quite a bit.
This was my favorite signing.
Giving J.C. Horn this money is nuts.
This was my favorite signing because he's young, he's good, and I think he shores up a piece of their defense that kind of sucked and keeps it at least good for the next 4 years.
I get it. He is young, and they certainly think that he's good, but he just doesn't stay on the field. He just can't seem to stay on the field. Like, I don't. I'm trying to look him up right now. So he has played. Oh my God, dude. Oh, okay. This is the snap counts that he has played. So starting with his rookie year, 142 snaps, 812 snaps, 275 snaps, 1,034 snaps. So he got the highest paying cornerback contract in the NFL off of a good season. In a season in which he played 1,000 snaps and he graded out overall at a 64. Now he does have.
I was trying to scroll and where the hell is he?
Right. Because you're not to where his ranking is yet. He scored a 64. So
87th best cornerback.
I mean, I don't think that you can let him go because, like, if he's healthy and he's playing the way he's shown that he can play, he's probably really good. The problem is he's either not on the field or he doesn't play that well. Like, I mean, like, that's just it. So, I mean, like, can you afford to not give him the money and just let him walk? No. Should you have given him this? No.
4 years, $80 million.
I mean, that's way closer. That's way close. I probably wouldn't have paid him as much as Carlton Davis, but it's probably close.
Yeah.
So, okay. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, they're so starved for talent that I don't know that you can let a dude walk.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe you do give him that.
Yeah. When you're bad, you have to overpay.
Right.
It's just that's the way it works.
You're right. I mean, that's
we did that for years. We were bad. We overpaid just to try to keep some talent around.
Sure.
And we were not able to build around that until we traded and got a bunch of draft assets and did it cheaply.
It's the way to do it. None of this matters. They're going to be bad to mediocre. I think that's a fine contract for him.
Yeah.
17
that was my favorite contract of the New Orleans moves. I thought that was my favorite.
Yeah, he played. I think, I don't know how well he played, but he played, I think, better last year than he had been playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Chris Godwin re-signed in Tampa Bay. They needed him.
Move.
Their key piece of their offense. Levante David. 1 year, $10 million is actually not that bad. He's a former multi-Pro Bowler as well. Yes, on the downside of his career, but still, like, $10 million that's not bad for that. And they got Hassan Reddick, $14 million. I think that's also good for a guy of his quality. So I think they did a fine job.
Yeah, I like the Hassan Reddick signing. I like bringing back Levante David. Chris Godwin was almost a must for them, I think. And then guys like Ben Bredesen and Riley Dixon are guys like, okay, we need to, you're going to play 53 players.
Yeah. So we need a punter, right? Somebody's got
to have a punter. We can't be the Lions all the time.
It's like, yeah, unless you're the Lions. I found the Jacoby Brissett interesting. He's not a high dollar thing, but Kyler's had a little bit of injury
Mhm.
history, so it's probably not bad. Evan Brown is a
Yep.
dude. Josh Sweat was the one I think was their biggest move,
Yep.
and a guy that everybody was coveting. I mean, he was probably a top 10 on the open market, right? He was probably a
Oh
top
yeah.
10 free agent. So, and he went to Arizona.
Yep.
At least it's hot and
So
dry.
it is interesting. Their coach was his former defensive coordinator, Gannon.
Oh, okay. So he wanted to
So
go back to somebody new, trusted,
probably,
respected.
I mean, because I think that when I see he got 19 million, I was like, really? Like he was one of the pass rush, and he had a great Super Bowl.
Yeah,
So
he
I mean,
did.
like, I'm a little surprised that it's only 19, but he's reuniting with a coach. It's warm there.
Might have been the first call,
It could have been.
right?
You're right. I like Akeem Davis Gaither. I mean, he's a solid player. They traded for Baron Browning in the middle of last season, and now they've extended him. And like Evan Brown and Beecham are guys, but
Yeah.
like, I mean, that to me, that's like we have a guy if we had to start the season today.
Yeah.
So okay, that's fine. I can't get too mad.
LA, Stafford restructured his deal like everybody knew he was going to. All this nonsense about trading him to the Jets and stuff like that. Um, you and I talked about how this stuff never happens. It's all posturing. It's all dickering and dealing behind the scenes, and almost nobody ever leaves, right? So that was kind of to me that was expected. It was just a matter of what the final numbers were going to be. Garoppolo, they just came back for a 1 year deal to back up Stafford in case of injury because he is, after all, 37 years old, or he will
Oh
be
my god.
37 this next year. Tutu Atwell, 1 year, $10 million. Fine. He's a decent receiver. He's young. He's quick. Alaric Jackson, he's okay. I didn't think he was. He's not elite, but
He's not.
he's not terrible.
He's not terrible.
I would put him in that like maybe Decker ish. Good, serviceable.
No, he's not
Uh,
Eric Decker. He's not Taylor
Decker's a little bit
Decker
older.
either.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I
He's neither of those things.
he's neither of those players.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
shocked
in
he
that,
got this
he's in
much.
that range though.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think so. I think that he is a young player that you are betting on will get better. I'm surprised that they gave him a contract, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, their
But they
offensive
haven't.
line was the struggle for them on the that and injuries with Cooper Cup, and obviously he's not on this list. We talked about him in potential landing spots. I think it's going to be really fun watching Devontae Adams and Puka Nakua because who are you going to cover? If you cover one, the other guy's going to get open. And while they don't necessarily like Tyler Higbee is a guy, he's nothing special. He is to me an average tight end. I think that Devontae and Puka are going to be just. It's going to be fun to watch. I think they're going to be probably the third best team in the NFC with the young defense that they've got. They've got the best, maybe the best defensive line, certainly on a age basis. They need in the offseason or in the draft, they definitely need to go for cornerback. I was kind of surprised that I didn't see any cornerbacks on the list here. That's their big struggle. That and the linebacker, and they let Hoyt go. So I think their offense is set at this point, and now they just need to work on the secondary.
My favorite signing that they had was Puna Ford. I think they need a large run stuffing defensive lineman, even if it's just rotationally.
Yeah.
Because their line is good and young, but they're young and good at one thing, and that's getting after the quarterback. And that's a great thing to be good at. But like I think the problem that they had that they should address, especially early in this Jared Verse and Kobe, is it Kobe Turner?
Kobe Turner's in the middle. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk was the other defensive rookie of the year candidate this past year.
One thing that I would like to see are some veterans on that defensive line to help the young guys, and then to be like, okay, I can hold the point of attack on this. Go get them, Braden, or whatever.
Yeah,
like I really would like that for them, and it looks like they're finally identifying some guys that can help them do that. So I think that's a really good signing. It's going to make a strength even stronger. I don't care about Tutu Atwell at all. He's like a wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
And then I think that Devontae's there for when Puka goes down. So I like Puka Nacua a ton, but if he plays 13 games this year, I'll be shocked. So
he played more than that this past year, didn't he?
Did he?
I thought he played 15. I could be wrong. Let's see. Let's go to receiving. Puka Nacua, he was the 3rd overall. He played 13 games.
Yeah.
You're right. 13. I was thinking he played 15. But
I think that's going to be his ceiling. Is that I think that he would. I mean, that was the knock on him in college. It's the reason he was the 5th round pick, was that he had injury concerns. And I think that he's, for most of his career, he'll have years where he hits that 15, 16 game mark. But I think more often than not, it's going to be like, okay, we're going to get 13 games out of him. And then those games are the ones that we're going to win a division off of the fact that he played 13 games. And Devontae's
he was
there.
The number 1 graded wide receiver in the NFL last year.
He and Matt are
honestly,
a great pairing.
If they can get those numbers down a little bit and split it with somebody else, and unfortunately, Cooper Kupp was hurt for most of last season, and when he came back, he did not play particularly well. I think he probably came back early and was, a step off and maybe a little injured, but I think if we can get those numbers down and spread it out a little bit, it'll save his body, because he plays very physical. He's a big dude. He plays physical. He'll run over you as opposed to popping out of bounds or anything like that. And that's where you end up getting hurt. So if we can get those targets down a little bit, and split and share the load, I think his grade number will still be just as high. And I think he'll be their offense will be more dynamic because of it.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see if Devontae's actually washed or if it was just Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think that it's. They're in a fine position as far as wide receiver is concerned.
Yeah. The Niners.
They are going to take such an enormous step back that I think it's going to be shocking. I mean, 6 wins.
Yeah, I can see that. I think they're going to be drafting in the top 10 next year.
Yeah. This is the team I really want to talk about.
All right. Good. It's the last one.
Yeah. I love what Seattle's doing. I love what Seattle is doing right now. So, I think more teams should, if what I think they're doing is in fact what they are discussing in their building, I love it. So here's the way I interpret this. You trade away DK Metcalf, you trade away Geno Smith. Okay, you have a huge problem to solve, which is we need to find a quarterback, right? Okay, I think Sam Darnold is going to turn into a pumpkin again, and this is going to be a terrible deal. Josh Jones is a guy. Jaron Reed is a starter for them. Ernest Jones is a starter for them. They traded for him from Tennessee in the middle of the season last year. They have a great defense that only needs 1 or 2 players to be added to it to be I think, at the top of the NFL. They have a wonderful defense. So if they take this year off, if they just take this year off,
low expectations,
and get to something like 10, 11, 12 in the draft, who knows what that will look like next year. But they shed a bunch of salary. They didn't have to extend Geno. They didn't have to extend DK. They cut Tyler Lockett. So there is a real need on this team right now for playmakers. skill position guys.
Yep.
And they have 1 or 2 spots on their offensive line they can fix. Okay, if you address that, if you go out and you address that in the draft this year, and then you're flush with cash, and you go in and you sign 1 or 2 guys, you have a defense, you have a running game, that's going to win you games in the NFL, so long as Sam doesn't fuck it up. So if you add 1 weapon, who knows what day 2, day 3, wave 2, wave 3 of free agency looks like. But if you add a couple of those guys in, I don't think you're that far away from what you were this last year, which was a 10-win team and the last team out of the playoff hunt. So
they're drafting 18th overall.
Yeah. So you're in the middle of the draft this year. You might be closer to 10 next year. And then I think you're ready to just go. I think it's just a tiny mini rebuild. This is what tanking looks like, in my opinion, in the NFL. And there's nothing wrong with it.
So, and here's the thing: they not only are they drafting at 18, but they've got a boatload of picks.
Yeah, they've got 5 18, picks in the top
50,
100.
82, 137, 173, 186.
Yeah.
They have 3 more after that. They've got a metric crap ton of picks, 3 of which, like you said, are in the top 100 at 18, 50, and 82.
5 of them, right?
3. 18, 50, and 82, and then they don't draft again until 137.
And then they have
173.
They have Vegas' 3rd, and they have Pittsburgh's 2nd.
Oh, from the trades?
Right.
Oh, I did. Yeah, that's not showing up on PFS mock draft simulation.
Because you got to go to Tankathon, buddy. Tankathon's where you got to go.
Yeah.
For draft.
So yeah, you're right.
And they have
they do have
$62 million right now in cap space. So think about this for just a second. You trade away DK, you cut Tyler Lockett. You might even bring Tyler Lockett back on a different deal. But you trade those guys away. Okay, you signed Darnold. He's getting $37 a year. That's less than what Daniel Jones got when he re-signed his deal. He's on the low end of starting quarterbacks in the entire league. You're either getting the bank or you're on a rookie deal, and if you're not that, you're Sam Darnold. So I mean, congratulations for getting $37 a year, Sam. You didn't earn it, but
he had a good year last year.
Right, and then he turned into a pumpkin in the last couple of games when shit mattered.
Yep.
And cashed in and then left that situation.
Yep. Because they didn't want him.
Right. Right. Which was the right move. Because you spent a top 10 pick on JJ. Yeah. So I get it. I understand all of this. I mean, from why we think they did what they did. But if we were to do a 3-round, can we just do a 3-round mock from Seattle just real quick?
Yeah. All right, let's yeah, and then we'll finish with the 3-round mock.
Yeah, we're just gonna a 3-round mock for Seattle.
Yep.
Yeah, we can just make it go fast. We don't give a shit about the other picks.
All right, let's go. You ready?
Yeah. Make it bigger. I can't see. Perfect. Okay.
All right. So Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Tyler Warren, Dual Carter. Graham,
we don't need a secondary person. We could use. So, Mike, can you scroll down on players available for me just real quickly?
Sure can.
Thanks.
How far down?
Let's see. Ooh, Kelvin Banks, Derek Harmon, Josh Simmons. Kelvin Banks is certainly up there for me as a right tackle, right guard replacement. Luther Burden could certainly be. He's a yards after catch guy. So you would have JSN in the slot, and then I think this would be your Z wide receiver, Luther Burden. So I'm gonna let you pick. So do you want a skill position guy or do you want to add to their line?
Skill position guy.
Okay, good. Then take Burden. All right. Twee.
I think that gives them the most value in the first round.
Sure. Oh, cool. That's
They need both, right? So
yes, they need both.
Shedeur Sanders, by the way, just went at the first pick of the second round.
Yeah, so like they're way down. Like PFF is way down on Sanders right now. So I mean, like if he was there, I just would have taken him. Okay, so let's see. Keep scrolling for me. These are all defensive guys. Oh, okay. Yeah, take Ursary.
Yeah.
He's enormous. That's your new right tackle. So now I want guards. I want a tight end. I want a linebacker.
Loveland's still there?
No, Loveland. He actually went to Detroit in this mock.
I would love to have him and Laporta on the same team.
If you made a decision to run 12 personnel, I can see it. But yeah. Loveland's more of like a big wide receiver than he is like a tight end.
Honestly, I think he's a perfect fit for the Rams.
Oh yeah. I mean, they were rumored to be wanting to trade up for Bowers last year. So I mean, like I think that would be great for them.
Oh, can you imagine if they had Bowers?
Oh, it's crazy.
Jesus, that would have been such a good.
Chris Paul, and I'm not even thinking about anybody else.
Yeah. All right, one more pick.
Oh, we have two more picks.
I'm not on Tankathon.
I understand. Oh, right.
Right. Yeah.
I see what you're saying. So
they didn't like Ursary.
They didn't like Ursary. That's fine. I don't care if they didn't like it. So, like, if they just have their picks and they don't have the picks from Pittsburgh and Las Vegas,
yeah,
then you have a skill position player, a right tackle who is enormous, and then you have a linebacker. So, like, I mean, I just think that these are like, I'm going to raise my floor. And then and the first pick could have been Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
Who I definitely don't think will be there at 18, but like there's an outside chance.
Yeah. If he's there, you think you'd take him then?
If I was Seattle and Shedeur Sanders was on the board, I would just run the card in. I wouldn't even entertain offers. So if I go to Tankathon and I go to full order, Seattle has picks 18, 50, 52, 82, and 92. Okay. That says it's from Detroit. 5. When did Detroit and Seattle make a trade?
Unless it came from Detroit to somebody else and from that team over to Seattle.
I see what you're saying. So they have 5 picks in the top 100. PFF's got to update their stuff. So, anyways, that's our free agent frenzy show. Mike usually wants me to keep this to an hour and a half, and now we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes.
There's a lot of shit going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
So I think it was worth an extra long one.
Okay, so here's what I'm looking for the Lions to do in the coming week. So the new league year starts 4 p.m. tomorrow. So that's as early as you could extend guys like Hutch, Joseph, and Jameson Williams. So I'm curious if we are going to get an announcement on an extension for Aiden Hutchinson.
401.
And then as far as like moves that they are going to make, here's what I want to see happen. Kyle Juszczyk, Calais Campbell, and then re-sign Zeitler and Tim Patrick. And I would be pretty happy with the offseason before the draft.
Yeah.
Anything you are hoping that they will do, Mike?
I mean, here's the thing. No. We don't have any glaring needs. I don't think there's anybody, when we kind of look at like who's left out of that like top 100 list, I don't see anybody that we really absolutely need to do.
Sure.
So I'm perfectly fine, especially since some of the guys that I did want didn't come to us. Sure. And I'm not talking about just Myles Garrett and Max Crosby. I would have loved those guys for sure. But like Josh Sweat, I would have loved to seen that. But he's no longer available. So, of the guys that are left, I don't think there's anybody that I would be like, you have to go out and get. Maybe I'd love to see Amari Cooper or Stephon Diggs, but I think they're going to be too expensive. So, and I don't think any of them really want to be wide receiver 3.
Right.
And I think JMOs are very clear wide receiver 2. So,
Yeah.
where does that leave us? So, there's nobody that I'd really love to see us get. Maybe Azeez Ojulari, young, quick dude that I don't know. That's as good as I can get, Drew. Other than that, I'm just looking forward to the draft. I don't see a ton of craziness going on for us.
Yeah, I mean, I like all the players that you mentioned. I just don't think they're fits with what Detroit wants to do. So,
I have
I mean,
one.
Oh, go ahead.
I would like, and he's still on the list. I'd like us to re-sign this guy by the name of Kevin Zeitler.
Oh, yeah.
So, Brad, if you're listening, Kevin seems like a really good fit for our team, and I think he'd do well.
Yeah, I mean, like, we do have Christian Mahogany sitting there, and like I do think that there will be interior offensive linemen, guys like Tyler Booker, maybe guys like Donovan Jackson from Ohio State, who are plug and play. You'll love having them on your team kind of guys. So I don't know that like the nice thing about this, the way the offseason's going is that Detroit doesn't have any needs.
Yeah.
So you
At
get to
least
make
no giant glaring holes.
right. So, and that's what I mean is that like now you have the ability to be like, what guys do we really just want to add? So like, is it somebody that, I mean, like, could they trade with Seattle to move up 10 spots to get a guy that like slipped in the draft that they identified? Or, is it like, oh, we want to add someone that like none of us fans
saw
possibly
coming?
say like, oh, we never thought that they would go get him, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that might
like
be
a
what
running
Brad's
back
doing
at 12.
Yeah,
like a running back at 12.
I remember
no
this
one
year.
saw that coming.
This year, whomever they draft, I'm not going to be like, oh, what are they doing? I'm going to be like, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to
That's interesting. I wonder how this is going to work out.
Yeah, so that's the change. That's the change.
Joey Bosa is the only other one. We kind of talked earlier. I think if we can get him on an incentive-laden contract, so he's inexpensive, and much like, Puka Nacua, like, if we can get 13 games out of him or whatever. If we can get 12, 13 games out of Joey Bosa, with or more, and be happy to pay the incentives as he's doing amazing stuff. Like, I'd love to see something like that, as long as it can happen inexpensively and for short term, like 1 year, $15 million plus incentives. I'd probably do that.
Sure. So. All right. Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
All right. Well, this is only days 1 and 2 of free agency. So there's going to be some of these other moves happening over the next week. So we will catch everybody next Tuesday, 7 o'clock. It won't be 2 hours and 23 minutes, I promise. But until then, go Lions. You guys.